TTJ Tech.
Yeah, let's go. A very hearty welcome to another episode of the TTJ Tech Show from www.ttjtech.net. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started. Oh, yes, my friends. Oh, yes, welcome back. Another episode of the TTJ Tech Show coming to you from
TTJ Tech.
At www.ttjtech.net. We want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in today. And we're going to talk about some more DirecTV Stream, but specifically the device this time, and a little bit of an update for you, because they did something really cool, and you got to see what it is. Now, before we do this, as always, I do want to remind you to please leave a like if you like it. Any comments, feel free to leave them as well. And of course, please, if you have not already done so, subscribe to our channel. And once you subscribe to our channel, make sure that you do me a favor and you hit the bell. Now, when you do that, my friends, that will keep you in the loop. You will never miss a thing if, in fact, you subscribe to the TTJ Tech Show. We got lots and lots coming up. We're going to get started here. Grab a cup of coffee and maybe a coffee cake, because we got a little bit of news first. All right, not too much news today, but just a couple of things we want to share with you. The main thing, first of all, some Apple news. This is not confirmed by any means. This is strictly a rumor at this point, but a very strong rumor. A lot of people are expecting a March or spring event from Apple, and we know we have those quite frequently. Last year's spring event was actually quite magnificent and huge. Well, you know what? Let's talk about it for a minute. So at last year's event, Apple announced so many things, all right? Now, we had all sorts of announcements from Apple last year. We began with the Apple AirTag to help us keep track of all of our favorite items, right? Our keys, our wallets, our purses, our briefcases. We also then moved on and we got the introduction of the new second generation Apple TV 4K with the brand new redesigned Siri remote, which we all love. We saw the introduction of the 24-inch M1 iMac, and we also saw the introduction of the new iPad Pro with M1. There was also, I believe, was it a purple colored iPhone maybe? I can't remember, but you know, there was quite a lot announced at that event. So these events in the spring are no small matter. And this year, it is rumored that we might see the iPhone SE revamped to include 5G. It's rumored that we could see any one of a number of Mac system upgrades and updates introduced this year, and many more things. So we just want to encourage you, perhaps a new iPad Air, I don't know. We want to encourage you to stay tuned to Apple, but also stay tuned to ttjtech.net, because when we find something out, we will be hosting our typical Apple event festivities, as we like to call them, starting with a pregame show. We'll get together virtually and we'll maybe be having some game day foods. While we snack on those, we'll discuss with special guests what we expect to see from Apple and those types of things. And then, of course, after the pregame show, we call it a pregame show because, we're fans just like you would be of a game, right, of a sports team. But after that, it's the main event. Now, we're not going to be talking much during the main event. We're going to be watching. We hope you'll do the same. We may tweet, but then after the main event, we'll gather back in Zoom once again for a virtual post-show wrap-up, where we'll discuss what was announced at the keynote and field any questions. So, when we have something to announce, we will post it. Believe me, make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter because you don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss all of our exciting festivities for that event, surrounding that event, and they will take place on the same day as the Apple event. So please make sure that you are subscribed to our TTJ newsletter. All right, we will put a link in the description. It's basically an email address. You just have to send a blank email. But as I say, we'll put that link in the description, okay? So be sure you check that out. Now, what else is going on in the news? I want to tell you about TTJ news for a moment. iPad for all computing begins in just 2 weeks, my friends. Monday, March 7th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not already registered for that, please send us an email to support@ttjtech.net and let us know that indeed you would like to be registered for iPad for all computing, because this is how you're going to learn the iPad from the ground up, with or without VoiceOver, and make it the only tool you'll ever really need for computing, if you choose to do that. Now, iPad for all computing, this is going to be our 5th year of teaching it, and we believe it's going to be the best year yet. And we're supplementing it with what we call digital cafes, some paid and some free. So you can learn apps like Pages for iPad, GarageBand and audio editing for iPad, and eventually even Keynote, Numbers, web design, and more. We've also got cafes already on the books, on the schedule for Apple TV or TV for the 21st century, Apple Watch Basics, iMessage, and a whole lot more. So please send us an email, support@ttjtech.net. Subscribe to us on Facebook at facebook.com/ttjtech, and you'll always be in the loop. And don't forget, we'll be posting the email address to subscribe to the TTJ newsletter as well, which is just one more way that you can stay in touch with what we are doing. And so we got lots coming up. I'm so excited about this iPad class. I mean, we just love the iPad. It's my favorite device. This podcast is being recorded on an iPad, so we love it. Check it out. Check out the course, iPad for all computing. Support@ttjtech.net if you wish to join. It's free, it's online, and it'll be great. And that, my friends, is the news for today. So let's move on to other things. All right, my friends, in the last episode, or one of the most recent episodes, I should say, we talked about DirecTV Stream from the perspective of it being our favorite live TV streaming service. And DirecTV has made a really nice change to their introductory offers. And I say introductory offers because it's not really an introductory offer. That's a bit of a misleading way to say it. I apologize. But it's for new customers only. And I'm told you got to do it online. But what you are able to get, so basically the price of DirecTV Stream increased by $10 per month. I believe it was right after the first of the year that was announced. But at least some of the packages, not every package, right? So the baseline entertainment package remains at its $69 price tag. But what DirecTV is doing for all new customers now is, instead of that base, you might remember me telling you that the base DVR was pretty unexciting at only 20 hours, right? Not very robust there. But you could pay $10 a month to upgrade to the unlimited cloud DVR, which I think is absolutely worth every penny. But DirecTV has decided they're actually going to give new customers that unlimited cloud DVR at no cost. So they're charging you $10 more for certain packages, but they're kind of making up for it in other ways. And so $10 a month now, you don't have to pay that. You still get unlimited. Everybody that's a new customer gets unlimited cloud DVR if they sign up online, and they don't have to worry about hours. And remember, there is a 90-day limit for storing recordings. They're deleted after 90 days. And remember, in a series recording, you can have a maximum of 30 episodes kind of residing on your DVR at one time before the oldest are deleted. But, they'll come around again, so you can watch them. 30 episodes is typically plenty to get your fill for a while, and then there'll be more usually. And of course, this supplements the great on-demand library, the 72-hour look-back feature, the program restart feature, TV Everywhere support, single sign-on support, Apple TV app integration support, voiceover support, and all the other tremendous things that DirecTV is doing, not to mention the best channel lineup in the industry. It is as simple as that. You cannot get anything quite as robust in the streaming game as DirecTV Stream. Your favorite channels will almost certainly be on DirecTV Stream. Maybe not in the base package. You might have to go up to, Choice or Ultimate, but you might even decide that the Premier, the very top, is for you if you want all those premiums. But basically, you'll find what you're looking for. And it's the only service, really, that is offering all of the RSNs, the regional sports networks. Again, not in the base package. You have to go up a little bit, but you are going to get all those. There's no extra fees. And you know what else? They're able to do this and offer some of the sports channels that you love. And if I'm not a sports fan, I like to watch the Super Bowl because I enjoy getting together with family and friends, having a Super Bowl party or going to a Super Bowl party, and all the great food. We had veggie pizza and buffalo chicken dip and tacos. Sometimes we've had chili, all these great things. And then, what usually ends up happening is a few of us go and play board games while the Super Bowl's on, because I really, really don't watch it. I watch the anthem, and if I like the halftime show, which is, whatever. Anyway, that's a whole other rant, but it's not. So we're not really per se watching it, but I enjoy the Super Bowl and some of the others, but I'm not a sports fan by any means. And so all those jokes about people, knowing so little about football, for example, that maybe they think that a quarterback is a refund, right? All right, so but so it really is true. It's not a big thing. But I know for a lot of people, you got to have your sports, and that's fine. So DirecTV Stream is the way to go, and all these great features. So one of the things that a lot of people say, and I said this in the previous episode, is that many people have said the best combination is DirecTV Stream on an Apple TV. And I absolutely believe that. I think any TV is best on Apple TV. I think the Apple TV is the best streaming device in existence, and I think every person ought to go out there and buy an Apple TV. But I also know that not everybody may choose to do that for any one of a number of reasons. And if you're like me, I have 3, I guess, Apple TVs that are kind of in use. Well, technically the third one, we're still rearranging our basement and kind of getting that all set up. But there will be at least 3. But sometimes these smaller TVs, like we have, 2 TVs in our one room of the basement and one small, 24-inch, 30, I don't remember, in the other room, which is where we have quite honestly, we have a bar, but we don't use it for alcoholic drinks, maybe sodas in the fridge, but nothing, but we use it for food. So we put the food out there, and people can gather up their food when we're having a party or whatever. That's the plan. And so there's a TV there at the bar. And, what do we do with this? Are we going to put an Apple TV on it? Well, DirecTV offers another option. And I don't believe for one second that it is on par with or equal to the Apple TV experience. But I do believe that for secondary televisions, it's a decent option. It's a decent way to save a little bit of money, because DirecTV allows you to finance this. It's called the DirecTV Stream Device. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, don't hold me to this, please check directv.com, and rather than taking my word for this, but I think you can have 6 of them, up to 6 per account. And when you purchase them, as of the time of this recording, you can do that in one of 2 ways. You can finance the thing for just $5 a month for 24 months, or you can purchase it outright for $120, $120. You also, once you start financing it, can pay it off early, of course, if you choose to do that. Now, the DirecTV Stream Box, I want to do a review today. As I say, it's a very reasonable alternative, not as good as Apple TV. You're probably going to hear me say that a half a dozen times, but I want to make sure that's clear to everybody. All right, but good in its own right, okay? So this DirecTV Stream Box, first of all, is based upon the Android TV platform. Again, is Android TV as good as tvOS? Not in a million years. But is it decent, especially for a secondary device? Yes, it is. Accessibility-wise, they have the TalkBack screen reader. Is that as good as VoiceOver? Definitely not. Not even close. But is it usable if you need it? And the answer is 100% yes, it is usable. So let's talk about what you get. Usually, DirecTV will have this shipped out and off to you within a day or 2. I think the longest I've ever waited for one is 3 days, maybe. And the understanding is that you might be able to pick these up at AT&T stores. I don't know if that's still true now that technically DirecTV is not AT&T anymore. They still work so closely together, as I stated before, that oftentimes it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. So it's quite possible that you may still be able to pick one up, but I don't know. But definitely you can get them shipped to you, free shipping. And by the way, no, you don't have to you don't have to do credit checks to sign up for DirecTV Stream, as we know. But if you're going to finance this equipment, then I do believe they'll do a quick pull of your credit. And that is if you choose to finance it. And by the way, this is, as I say, you can have up to 6 of these, but you can order them at any time in any number that you want. And it's totally optional. They're not required, right? So when you get it, what do you get? Well, first of all, you unbox this. You're going to receive the DirecTV Stream device itself. Very small, but not as small as the Apple TV. It is slightly larger, but much smaller than traditional cable boxes that have hard drive-based DVRs in them. Maybe might put you in the mindset of the secondary boxes that some cable and satellite companies offer for other TVs that are going to feed off of the main DVR or what have you. Maybe kind of analogous to that. It comes with the HDMI cable, which I do think is very nice. And now I'll be very clear. I completely get the fact that Apple doesn't include one. And while I cannot speak for Apple, I can understand reasons why you might not include one. First of all, it would cause a lot of extra packaging. Secondly, you really do want to let people pick the size of their HDMI cable, because you never know where they're putting their Apple TV so I can see both sides to this, but it is nice to see DirecTV include one. And of course, you have your power cable and some documentation, and you have your remote. Now, the remote has a little tab on the battery cover that you just pull out, and then your batteries are already in, so you're ready to go. Unfortunately, it's not a rechargeable. Again, as I say, not as good as Apple, and I'm pointing out the little ways in which it isn't. I'm not going to do that the whole time, because comparing anything to Apple, it's always going to fall short. Apple's always going to be ahead. But I did want to mention it. I wish more of these remotes were doing rechargeable batteries, although then we'd have to deal with what kind of port they're going to use, right? USB-C would seem to be reasonable in this day and age, but Apple's using Lightning for its remote, so that would mean you'd have to make sure you had the right cables and all that. So maybe it's easier to have, replaceable batteries. I don't know. Either way, they include the batteries, which is a very good thing, in my opinion. And now I have not been able to set this up without sighted help. there is a command. There is a shortcut on the remote that you can press, but what I have found is that it doesn't work during setup. Maybe it's supposed to, and I'm not doing something right. I don't know. But the setup process is fairly straightforward. You plug this in, you plug it into power and plug it into HDMI. I believe there's also a USB port on this for maybe, I don't know that it's enabled, honestly, or if it's just diagnostic. There's an Ethernet port on this. If you need to hardwire, okay, we do Wi-Fi. So if the first thing that happens when you plug this device in is that it immediately wants you to connect to Wi-Fi. That's the very first thing that's going to happen. It loads for a few seconds. You know your TV's on the correct input, all this. And then, yes, you're going to need to connect to Wi-Fi. Now, the moment that that's done, and maybe there's a language selection. I might have forgotten that. I apologize. Maybe you have to choose English. I don't know. But I think this device is only available in the United States, so maybe they do, maybe they don't have multiple languages there. But you very quickly connect to Wi-Fi, and then the very first thing that happens is it does a software update. Every time I've set one of these up, it has had to do a software update. And during that software update, it is kind of cool because they play this little trivia game with you, and they ask you about TV and movie trivia and stuff, and you can answer the questions, and it's kind of neat and fun, sort of a way to occupy your time while the software update is being downloaded and so forth. And then the device restarts. Now you are asked to pair the remote. So I'm not sure whether it's maybe using RF or IR at the beginning, and then when you pair it, it starts communicating via Bluetooth. I don't really know. And maybe that's partially why the TalkBack screen reader wasn't able to be turned on, because I never tried it in this next step after that. So now the next step is to sign in with your DirecTV Stream credentials. So you've got to enter a username and password, and then you have to enter your Google username and password, because this system includes access to the Google Assistant. And this is actually very important, and it's going to lead us into our next episode of the TTJ Tech Show, which is about some of the Google products. Now listen to me, my friends. I am an Apple guy through and through. I love Apple. They are my first choice for everything, and therefore Siri is my go-to assistant. HomePod is my go-to smart speaker. But I want you to understand something. When another company does something good, I will give it credit. All right? People think that I'm biased. I will tell you, I don't feel that I'm a biased person. I think I'm one of the least biased people you know, because I will be honest with you if a company does something well or if they don't. And if a company does things that are not, in my opinion, so well, I'm going to tell you. I have said many times there's a lot of stuff about Google that I don't like. Let me tell you where Google has hit the mark with their smart home stuff, like their Nest Hub, their Google Assistant product, which is embedded into or integrated into the Nest Hub and many other devices, their Nest Doorbell. These products are amazing. And while I still use Siri and the HomePods and HomePod Minis as my main smart speaker, you better believe I also have Google devices strategically placed around this house. We are going to start our smart speaker series on the TTJ Tech Show with the next episode. And believe it or not, we're actually going to begin with the Google Assistant and its various products. And the reason that we're going to do that is because it's such a nice flow from what we're talking about today. DirecTV Stream Device uses Google Assistant. And so the second thing you're going to be asked to do after signing into your DirecTV Stream account is you're going to, accept the terms and conditions and all that. But you're going to then sign into the Google Assistant. And you'll be able to turn on like the personal results and all that. And then eventually it'll finally say something like, go make the popcorn or something like that. And it'll say, building your guide. And pretty soon it's ready and you are actually watching live TV. Now, the The accessibility is actually, I've told you before, really good. And in DirecTV Stream's support, they actually tell you that you can get accessibility features on the DirecTV Stream Device, Apple tvOS, iOS, iPhone and iPad, Android phone and tablet, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung TV 2017 or newer, and also Roku. So they're very good to give you that information. There is a shortcut key that allows you to turn TalkBack, on and off. And I'm going to give you the overview of the remote first. That way, when I tell you the shortcut key, it's going to actually have a chance of making sense to you. So I've got the remote right here so I can look at it. The top left button is the power on button, and that is able to turn on your TV and everything. It does seem to support CEC quite well, so it'll automatically turn stuff on. And if I go to the middle button, that is an input button. You might not need it too much. The top right button is the off button, so it is not one and the same power button. There is a separate on button and a separate off button. They do control all of your devices, which is really, really cool. The next row has 3 buttons also. They are guide, home, and list, or my library, which displays your DVR recordings quickly. That home button in the middle there is slightly raised above the other ones and is useful for getting quickly to the main menu in the DirecTV Stream home screen. Okay, so that's a great thing to know. All right, so the next row is, the next section is this like cross. It's directional pad, okay, with left, right, up and down, and a select or OK button in the middle. I forget which they call it. But it's also flanked by some other buttons here. On the top of this cross, to its left, so the middle is the like OK or select, and to its left and its right are those left and right arrows, directional, and then bottom and top are the up and down arrows. But if you go to the bottom, if you go to the top up arrow, directional, pat navigation key, to its left is the record button to quickly record the current program. To the right of it is the exit button. Then at the bottom row, to the left of the bottom, the down arrow button, is the back button. And to the right of it is the overflow button. So a very important thing to keep in mind here is you could do like one finger on the bottom left and one on the top right of the cross, and you got back and exit respectively. That overflow button at the bottom right is useful for doing things like quickly restarting the program from the beginning, getting more information, recording, things of that nature. All right, then below this, you have 2 sort of raised bars. You press them up or down, and they are volume and channel. The one on the left is volume, up and down. The one on the right is channel, up and down. And then the next row, in the middle, the smooth round button in the middle is the microphone button, the Google Assistant button, basically. And also down here, you have 2 other buttons there, a mute button on the left and a previous channel button on the right. The last button, some people might call it. Then you have your row of rewind, play in the middle with the raised dot, and fast forward on the right. Finally, the bottom section of this remote is, believe it or not, a telephone style or remote style keypad, which includes 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6 with the 5 raised, 7, 8, 9, and so on. 0 in the bottom middle there. So it is possible to use channel numbers with DirecTV Stream, although you certainly don't need to. And you can sort your guide alphabetically or by channel number. Now, the shortcut to turn on voice TalkBack is to press the back button, so bottom left of the cross, and the home button, which is that raised one in the middle, second row from the top, and hold those two buttons down together back and home for about 3 seconds, and it turns on or off the TalkBack screen reader. Here in the documentation, it still says it is also possible to use TalkBack in IR mode or during device setup. But as I said, I've not been able to achieve that, and I don't know why that is. But if you can get some sighted assistance to set this up, if you can't achieve that, then you're still good to go after that. So back and home for 3 seconds, turns it on or off. TalkBack functions reasonably well, though not as well as VoiceOver, but it does function reasonably well. The setup and the functionality of this is probably the closest to traditional TV that you will ever get with a streaming device, right? Because honestly, you wouldn't be able to tell, except it's probably better quality picture and audio. And of course, there are some other features that you don't get with many of the traditional systems. Now, some of them, like Comcast's X1 and so forth, are kind of making some headway here, but even they can't offer unlimited DVR in their hard drive-based system. So there's still some differences here, quite a few actually. As mentioned, you can change the channel by simply using that right-hand raised bar, go up and down for a traditional experience, or bring up the guide. The guide, again, can be brought up with the button on the second row of the left-hand side button, or in the menu. Now, the menu button does bring up the home screen experience that you might already be used to when you use the app on your iPad or your Apple TV. You have I think they put the guide in there like Apple does as well, but then also you have your Watch Now, My Library, On Demand, Sports, and there is your search and settings, but there's also another category on the DirecTV Stream device, which is apps. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So it's very, if you are already familiar with the DirecTV Now, excuse me. Oh my goodness, I'm going back to an old name. It once was called DirecTV Now. I can't believe I just did that. Sorry, guys. If you're already used to the DirecTV Stream app experience that you will find on the Apple TV and other devices that you might use, your iPad and so forth, then you really are not going to have any trouble navigating the DirecTV Stream device, because the categories are the same, things are set up the same. If anything, you get a couple of additional options that you wouldn't otherwise get, like that overflow button. Now, you can access all that on your Apple TV with a swipe down and, in other ways. But basically, there are some little, dedicated things, because one of the things you can do with Android is you can customize it to the hilt. And that can be a good thing or a not so good thing. But in this case, DirecTV's done a really nice job of building the entire system around its service, so that the main thing that happens is you're instantly getting your TV. And that happens when you turn on the device, with that top left power button. Takes just a few seconds. It loads and you're watching live TV. So it's a really good experience in that regard. And you can pause just like on any of your other devices, because all your devices, your Apple TV, your iPad, iPhone, all these things can, iPod Touch, they can all pause live TV or on demand or recorded content. I think you can pause for up to an hour or rewind back an hour. Plus those 72-hour rewind or what do they call it? 72-hour look back is the name of it. The DirecTV Stream has given it. And the restart for many programs that are already in progress. So there's a lot of ways to control what you are watching. And perhaps the best is that you can save as much as you want by recording it. And so, yes, there's also a way to bookmark things. But honestly, if you have the unlimited cloud DVR, I don't see any real need to use the bookmarks, because you might as well just record it. It's not going to hurt anything. Right? You can record as much as you want. I see a show I like, you know what I do? I immediately record the whole series. And, if I don't watch it, that's okay. But I've got no space restrictions. I don't have to worry. So if down the road I say, oh, yeah, I do want to see that. I've got some on my DVR now, in my library. So really, really good. On Demand is kind of divided up exactly as it is in the other apps on the other platforms. And then the features that make it unique. The apps, for example. Now, DirecTV will already preload some for you that they think are useful and important. Like, for example, obviously HBO Max. That's going to be one that basically is, coming from AT&T or Warner Media or whatever they're going to be called when they join with Discovery. If that happens, whatever, you get HBO Max preloaded. You just have to sign in. Netflix preloaded, Amazon Prime, Pandora, and I don't remember if there were others. Now, you can go to the Google Play Store and you can download more apps. I was able to find apps for all of my streaming services there, including the ones that didn't already come preloaded, like Peacock, Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, which Paramount Plus I actually get as an Apple TV channel, but there's a way to sign in and then also get yourself a username and password for signing in on other devices. You're not affecting your Apple TV channel subscription, but it's just giving you that additional option. And that's just a one-time website you got to go to, and you can use your Apple ID and password and link the two and create a login. So that's fine. And they have the PBS Kids and PBS. They've got Hulu. They've got tons and tons of apps. They're not as many as tvOS App Store, but they do have quite a few in many different categories, including some games and some karaoke and stuff. The games are going to be very limited because they don't have any special game functionality in their remote. So the Apple Siri remote second generation has sort of become more of a TV only, consumption device, and Apple does allow for some gameplay with this. And what they've basically said is, look, if you want to be a serious gamer, you can get any game controller that you want pretty much at this point, right? There are some dedicated MFI ones like the SteelSeries Nimbus Plus, which I really love, but also you could use an Xbox or PS5 controller, PS4 controller. So that, or at least PS5, so that they're kind of doing the same thing. DirecTV Stream's remote is probably even a bit more limited because there's not a touch surface or anything, but I may be wrong. It's, may just be the selection. There are, as far as accessibility of these apps, it's not quite as good as VoiceOver with the third-party apps, but it's not terrible either. Because of what I'm about to explain with Google Assistant in a few minutes, it's not out of the question, right? Okay, but there are, a couple apps that leave a lot to be desired that just don't function at all where TalkBack doesn't speak at all. And then there's some weird stuff like Hulu on Android TV, for whatever reason, is self-voicing. So you have to turn off TalkBack and then launch Hulu. There's some quirks that you don't experience with Apple TV that remind you of just how amazing and how good Apple really is. And, tvOS, VoiceOver, iOS, all these things. But, again, it is definitely correct to say that it's usable in many cases. So third-party apps, it's a mixed bag, but not a terrible experience. And, you can pretty much get what you want on there. I found a SiriusXM app, so that, was nice. All right, one other thing that elevates this experience then, that I said we'd come to, is the Google Assistant. Now, the Google Assistant gives you your basics that you would expect, the weather, the sports, you can do, what time is it in Paris, how many cups are in a gallon, all the usual stuff, the general knowledge kinds of things that you would, expect to see there. And, restaurants near me, traffic conditions, But the other thing that it does is it does a lot of, not all, I want to be very clear, not all, but a lot of the same things that other Google Assistant-enabled speakers and displays will do. For example, because I have linked Apple Music to my Google Assistant account, I can play Apple Music on my DirecTV Stream device. There's not a dedicated Apple Music app, so I can't do everything that I would want to maybe do or could do on the Apple TV or other devices. But again, if I'm using this as a secondary device in an otherwise all Apple home, it's not a bad idea. Now, the experience, I can hold down that button and I can say play the Beatles on Apple Music, and it will actually do it. Okay, and you can do the same thing with Pandora, and you can do the same thing, with SiriusXM, but that one does require you to first install the app. So, other things you can ask about, you can say good morning and it will give you your day overview. You can ask for, what's on your calendar, and you can ask for, restaurant and business information, right? You can, anything that works with the Google Assistant for home control, you can access that from the Google Assistant built into the DirecTV Stream system, right? So there's a lot that you can do with Google Assistant on the DirecTV Stream device, which is really going to lead us, as I said, into the next episode. And there are also some custom things that sort of do like what Siri does on the Apple TV. You can tell it record this program, or, rewind however many, whatever, or find movies about whatever. Now, one of the major things that the DirecTV Stream device lacks, and really most things that are not Apple lack, are this beautifully designed queue known in the Apple world as Up Next in the TV app under Watch Now, where you can see everything you've been watching across all your services. All right, there really isn't anything equivalent to that. There are, you can see the last channels you've watched. You can there's a keep watching row that you can kind of do that with on-demand programming and so forth, but it's not nearly what Apple's is, and it's not across all of the apps. However, there is a bit of a universal search, isn't there? With Google Assistant, I can say, show me Girl Meets Farm, which is one of my favorite cooking shows. And when I say show me Girl Meets Farm, if it happens to be available on multiple services that I have installed, multiple apps that I have installed, then I will indeed be able to choose from those. So it will show me that Girl Meets Farm is available to watch live on DirecTV Stream, but it's also available on Discovery Plus because I have that app installed. And also, by the way, I can buy episodes of it from the Google Play Store. So similar to the way Apple does its universal search, you can buy movies and shows from the Google Play Store. You can watch them on your installed apps. So in this case, the Discovery Plus app is one of those apps that's not that accessible on DirecTV Stream. In fact, quite honestly, it's not perfectly accessible on tvOS either, but it's much better on tvOS. But it's not flawless on either one. But it doesn't have to be, because I can say, show me Girl Meets Farm, and it will indeed show me the Discovery Plus as an option, and it'll let me play it, from the Google Assistant, and then launch the app and start the show. So it is, and then when I want to go back home, I can just hit back and exit a couple times, and I'm there. So not an overall bad experience. And that's another major part of this, is the Google Assistant has the universal search and various playback and recording controls and so forth. Now, the last thing we'll talk about that the Google Assistant and the DirecTV Stream device offer, really not the Google Assistant, but the DirecTV Stream device, it has Chromecast built in. So what that means, now a lot of TVs are coming with these too, but your DirecTV Stream box also will. It allows you to cast most things from your iPhone or iPad to your television. And all you got to do is choose the cast button in the appropriate app on your phone or iPad, and then it will look for devices that are on your network that support Chromecast, and the DirecTV Stream box will show up as one of them, and you can cast to your heart's content. And this is what I've actually done with Peacock, because Peacock, of all of the apps on the Google Play Store for DirecTV Stream, this is the worst as far as accessibility right now. It's fine on Apple, or at least reasonably fine on Apple. Again, probably not perfect, but definitely not perfect on iPad and iPhone. But it's good enough that what I can do is I can cast from my iPhone or iPad to the DirecTV Stream box, And what it'll do, you just watch live TV, and then you hit cast, and it just stops the live program and starts what you've chosen to play. And then when you're done, it goes back to live TV. Very simple. While you're casting from your iPad or iPhone, you don't even have to leave the Peacock app or whatever app you choose open. That's a unique feature. It just works, So it's a great service. Chromecast is a really solid offering. Again, when Google or any other company does something well, I'm going to say so. And that's one of those things they've done quite well. So you have that option of your Chromecast, anything that supports Chromecast is going to work with the DirecTV Stream device. If you are a Google Photos user, you can even cast photos to the DirecTV Stream device. I'm not. I like Apple Photos, and that's where I want to stay, so I'll just forego that feature, on my secondary devices. Not an issue. But overall, this is definitely an offering that I think is worth checking out for secondary devices. By the way, the DirecTV Stream device is also equipped with with Bluetooth, so you can use it with Bluetooth speakers. But if you have your Apple TVs working with your HomePods through a television that has audio return channel or ARC support, or if you have a good sound bar on your TV, then you're already set to go and you don't really have to worry about it. Now, one app that is noticeably absent from the Google Play store for DirecTV Stream is the Apple TV app. However, I happen to have this DirecTV Stream device, one of them, connected to a Vizio SmartCast TV. And SmartCast also has there's a speech screen reader for that too. And it has its own apps, including the Apple TV app. So it's possible that I can still get the Apple TV content on my television without an Apple TV box. And I can get my purchased content. I can get my Apple TV channels. And I can get Apple TV Plus. It's not... it does have an up next queue, but the up next queue is going to be limited to within that app. It's not going to show me my, Hulu and Disney Plus shows and things of that nature. The overall experience of the DirecTV Stream box, the typing on the keyboard, oh boy, typing on the keyboard. It's just one of those cases where you just really appreciate what you have in your Apple devices, but you also understand that if you need to use this on a secondary device or something, it's doable. Now, the biggest challenge that I have with it is that there are at least two different kinds of keyboards that Android TV can display, and different apps choose to display different ones, and I think you may be able to choose between them, but I've not really mastered that. So there's a QWERTY, and then there's an alphabetical. And each of them has its own little quirks that you got to get used to for finding symbols and changing between them and dictating and so forth. But it is doable. I have not found it to be as quick as Apple. And one other command I have not found, which if it's there and you're an Android TV, Google TV user, please leave it in the comments and maybe I'll try it on my DirecTV Stream device and see if it will work. But I've not found a way to read the whole screen again if you need to have something spoken back to you, you missed it the first time or something. The only way I found to do that is to go back into it again, whereas on Apple TV you can press and hold the play pause button for a few seconds and it will read the screen. Also, because there's no rotor, I've not found a way to read by character, word, or anything else in those cases where I need to reread an authentication code or something. So the experience is definitely not what it is on Apple, but again, it's not terrible. And I do think for a secondary device, whether you can see or not, this DirecTV Stream device is worth considering. I think DirecTV, AT&T, the combo of them, whatever, has done a great job with this device, and I give it 8 out of 10 stars. I think it's worth at least, considering for some of those secondary devices. So, my friends, that's going to be it for today. One more time, remember, if you've not already done so, to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss a thing. Hit the notification bell so you definitely don't miss a thing. And then also, my friends, don't forget to keep coming back because we are going to have a lot more. We've got other playlists. We got an episode already in the TTJ Family Talk playlist, and there will be many more to come. TTJ Science Show is going to be getting a couple this spring with the Titanic and Apollo 13 discussions, and with many, many more episodes of the TTJ Tech Show coming, new episodes being released every Friday, my friends. You don't want to miss it. I want to thank you so much for joining us today here on the TTJ Tech Show, and I really do appreciate your time. I want to say God bless you. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Visit us at www.ttjtech.net. We will see you back here next time, my friends. God bless you. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time. TTJ Tech. That's a wrap.